Okay, and welcome once again to another edition of Tiger TV. I'm your host, Tony Symonds, and today we are blessed again to have the one and only, the incomparable, Mr. Rex Voigt. How are you, Voighty?
Very good, thanks, Simon.
Great to see you, my friend. Now, I was having a bit of a look through the resume of Rex Voigt today, and, it's outstanding. 1967 to 1979 at Glenelg Football Club, 257 games, 258 goals. That's around about one goal a game. And also one of the best and fairest in 1970 and played a state game. What a resume.
Yes, it was. I guess when I come from Bloxton to Adelaide, when Curls came up there and recruited myself and Bomber Hamilton, never thought I'd get to that stage in my football career. But it was, it was absolutely fantastic to get the start.
Just let me ask you a little bit about that, Voighty. Loxton. Now, I've been to Loxton at your old family home many years ago when your brother had his 21st there. Yep. You were there. That was another story we won't go into. But how do you get recruited from Loxton in the mid to late 60s? How did that come about? Someone come up and watched you play?
Well, it was West Adelaide area, and I actually played a couple of trial games for West Adelaide in my senior Colt days, and then I went to A grade in 65, and won Loxton's best and fairest, and then made the Upper Murray side, and then I was travelling down to Adelaide and playing I had a trial game with Port and a couple of other clubs, and then finally went back to Loxton, and then Curls became coach of Glenelg, and then Tom Bonnelly and Curls come up to Loxton. And
Tom Bonnelly and Neil Curley. Now, there's a couple of massive names from Glenelg in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Was there a brown paper bag involved in those days, Voighty? Was there a bit of cash involved?
No.
I'm sure you paid tax on it, so it's not a big deal.
Well, I did get put on a contract in 71 for $1,000 a year, so for 5 years. So
is that right?
That's right.
Is that right? Gee, they were clever. That was before the days of Harry Kernahan. Harry used to just put a contract in front of us and say, sign there, young fella. And that was the end of that. You just signed it. So, well, we were quite lucky to get you in the end then. Had a run at Port, had a run at Westies, and ended up with us.
It's I think Neil Curley made... Well, when you're watching football, when you're playing up in the Riverland, and all you could hear was just, like a 5DN, and you really didn't know too much who was playing in Adelaide. You might have just heard a little bit about Port and a little bit about Curls and a few other sides, but otherwise you knew virtually nothing. All I was interested in is racing home after a game, listening to Peter Frankham on his sports show and seeing if I got the best players. So,
well, talking about best players, Bomber Hamilton. So he came from Loxton as well, did he?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
What a star Bomber was. We should get him on Tiger TV one day. But so you and him would have been pretty tight, I would have thought.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together. We started off at Neil Davies as well. We both got recruited down here, and it was hard to fit in because when you in the off season you didn't know where anybody lived, so you'd just come down to footy club. But we boarded with Neil Davies' mum over at Glenelg North, and we'd race over here and have a few beers, and then 1 minute to 6 we race home because tea was always on the table at 6 o'clock. Now I'm sure she used to see us come in the door and put it on the table. It was always hot, but we always had one more drink and then raced home. So it was tough. Off season was really tough in Adelaide because you didn't know where anybody was. So the football club was our
I think I'm right in saying 67 was Neil Curley's first year as coach, wasn't it?
That's right.
So all you guys started together. So that was really the start of the brilliant era for Glenelg Footy Club.
50 years ago this year.
Well, let's not bring that up, Voighty. That makes you an old man, and we know you're not.
I don't act
like an old man.
Honestly, I don't act my age.
Still looks fit enough to play when it comes down to it, really. Now. Sorry?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, well, I was going to keep giving it to you, really. But a few highlights of your footy career, Voighty. Now, there's many. But before we get to the 73 grand final, is there any other games that stand out besides that one? I think you got best on ground pretty much in 1975 when we lost.
Yeah. I still think my first game it was Sturt out here, and I remember coming off the bench, and I ran out, and I think there was a couple of Sturt players coming for the ball, and everybody thought I'd played me first and last game. I dived on the ball. They all went over the top of me and kicked the ball down towards the goal. So that was my introduction to A-grade football.
How many minutes did you play in your first game? Because in those days, when you come off the bench, it could have been quite late in the game.
Well, there's no 19th and 20th man, so I was late in the game. I probably would have had half a quarter, I suppose. I'm not quite sure on that.
You remember your first kick?
Well, that was it.
That was it,
yeah. And all the boys in the played seconds the week before. They all thought I played me first and last game of football. Thought I'd be over the fence with a hip and shoulder.
Well, they were wrong by another 256 games looking back. Now, everyone's going to want to know your recollections of the 1973 Grand Final. I was there as a 11-year-old. I didn't see Cornsey take the mark because I was sitting on the ground crying at that stage because I thought we were going to lose. My auntie picked me up by the hair and said, "Get up, Cornsey's having a shot for goal." You kicked 7 goals, Peter Carey kicked 6, and maybe neither of you were best on ground. What are your thoughts?
Yes, it was an incredible game. I actually kicked 8, and 1 was disallowed. Fred and Hammond were having a bit of a wrestle in the forward in the centre in the goal square, and I kicked the ball through the goals, and Ducker was running through the diamond and said, "Oh, free kick to what's name?" And
right?
I lost the goal, so I would have kicked 8. But
I'll take 7 in a grand final.
It was a tough game. It was hot. It was racing. Ball went back and forwards all day, and then, never really gave it a thought that we're going to lose the game. And then when they trying to kick that goal and put them 5 points up, I reckon I was standing on the boundary line, and I reckon a great big hole just opened up. I just felt that everything was empty. And then, of course, we also come through Peter Anderson, I think.
Someone smothered it.
Clouded it 1 or 2, and he bounced it once or twice, and then got it down to full forward, and the rest was history.
So did you watch Cornsey as he lined it up, or did you turn away?
Oh, God, I don't know where I was. I was quite happy to see it go through. He actually did something that day, didn't he? He kicked the magnificent
He didn't have a great day, Studley. I think he even admits that. But mind you, if you've got to do something, you might as well do what he did.
Do it in that day,
because we had so many heroes that day, and the obvious one, Bobby Tregenza, what a star.
Well, he was definitely best on the ground because Tardif came off early. I don't know what quarter he came off.
It was early to middle of the second quarter, I remember.
He came off, and then Trigger virtually just went. He just went for it after that, and his effort was just super. It definitely wasn't for him. We wouldn't have got close.
The story I got told was that he drank nearly a bucket of cordial after the game and ended up in hospital. Is that correct? Or hearsay?
I think it's probably a little bit close and probably a little bit stretched. But after the game, Word just so had it. Word was dehydrated because back in those days, you weren't allowed to drink too much water, during the game, during practice and things like that. So it was really, really tough. And then, of course, after the game, you just sat there like zombies because we were all dehydrated. Then we took the bus down to Glenelg and stopped at the
Town Hall or something?
No, the Pizza Hut. On the way home,
on Anzac Highway.
And Trigger got out and heaved everything up.
It wasn't too good.
No,
well, speaking of dehydration, pretty certain you rehydrated into the early hours after that, because I remember picking up the Sunday Mail the next morning, this is true, and I reckon you were on the front page of the Sunday Mail dancing on the tables in this very bar.
Well, exactly right. And as I said, we're all dehydrated, and by the time we got back to the hotel where we're having our
the Watermark now, or the St Leonard's?
One behind that. Comfort Inn.
On the Paddalunga there. Yeah, I forget what it's called now. I think it's no longer with us.
Yeah, we went there for tea, and of course we had tea, but everybody was still dehydrated. We just had no energy, and then the reporters came in about 10:30 at night and said, "Come on, you boys, you just won a grand final." So obviously Muggins here got on the table and did the Highland Fling, and the rest is history. I think we borrowed a couple of kegs from the club early hours of the morning, and went around to Brownie's place and tried to open them, but we had no success, so we owned up for them.
When you look back now, and the crowd, there was 50,000 at Adelaide Oval, and 30,000 of them raced onto the ground when the final siren went. How did that feel the next few minutes after the game? I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. It must have been almost the highlight of your life, or your football life.
Well, absolutely, because Sandy kicked. No, was it you kicked the goal?
John Sandland kicked the last one.
The last one. Who kicked the one before that?
Cornsey.
Cornsey, that's right. Yep. Sorry, Cornsey.
That's Graham Corns.
Graham Corns, and then as soon as the game was finished, well, it was everybody swarmed onto the table and onto the ground, and we were trying to do a lap of honour, and we only got halfway around, then disappeared back into the rooms because we just couldn't go anywhere because we were just smothered with people, and everybody just. Glenelg supporters were just elated at the fact we'd cracked the hoodoo and won finally a premiership for a change. So,
and did Curls speak to the players after the game in the rooms?
Well, he probably did.
Would have been hard, I imagine, because there would have been people everywhere.
I honestly cannot remember what was said. We were all we just had it. We're just so happy we actually won one, and we're also. As I said, dehydrated, which we didn't know nothing about in those days.
Do you have a sort of certain sense of disappointment when you look back, how many grand finals that you should have won, only winning the one, Voighty? Does that cut a bit deep occasionally? It does with me.
Well, it does, but I guess I think Sturt claimed that one year they thought we were going to win by miles, and I think that was the year that
74?
Yeah, I think that
was earlier.
Yeah, I think
1970,
something like that. And I think Tilbury kicked about 4 goals in 5 minutes in the third quarter, which swung the game, and I think I got knocked out in one of those games. And we just, I don't know why we didn't perform better in grand finals, but we didn't. We just, we just.
They can never take the 73 one away though, Voighty.
No, gee, thank goodness for that, God, it was definitely, like put Glenelg on the map, and I just and just so proud for Kells because he was such a disciplined guy, and you just admired the guy because you weren't, he was just a strong guy, and you just whatever he said you did, but I remember going to training one night and I was talking to Kenny Eustace. When he was playing down there, he said, Rex, you can't train and play the way you do, every game.
Really?
So he said you should take a night off every now and again. So I thought, well, okay.
You're only training 2 nights a week. Take a night off.
Well, that's right.
Really?
In the wet days and all that sort of stuff. But there was a reason why I trained so hard, because I had to displace a little bit of liquid.
Yeah, well,
a couple of days. So,
yes. Well, the boys used to have a drink in those days, didn't they? I think it's fair to say.
It was very.
It was quite a social place to be, wasn't it?
It was.
Phyllis boys and Super getting around. And
so anyway, I was coming to training one night, and it was absolutely hammering down with rain. So I was coming along Marion Road, and this car cut in front of me and hit him. And I thought, well, okay, this is my night off at training. So finally got to training and. Did a couple of laps and went over to Neil. So I said to Neil, I'm sorry, I'm late for training. I had a prank. And he said, what happened? And I said, I hit this car and the radiator rammed into the fan belt. He said, you should have taken the fan belt off and drove to training. And I said, Neil, I didn't think of that at the time. Wasn't. So I'll never forget that.
Oh, well, great days. Now, I must ask you another question I think people would be interested in. You're a superstar rover for a long time, but probably the last 4 years of your footy career played as a back pocket. Would that be right, the last 4 years?
Well, yes. 73 obviously was a great year, and then 74, I think I was close to getting married that year, so I think that might have come in the equation. But I played every game except for the grand final.
You were getting married so they moved you to the back pocket? How does that work, Voighty? There must be another story in that story.
Any rate...
something to do with saving a bit of energy?
Yeah, I got dropped for the grand final, so against Sturt. So any rate, I didn't let football interfere with my Christmas. So but as soon as Christmas was over, I just concentrated on football because I didn't want to sit in the seconds or go back to Loxton. So the reason I come back to or played footy in Adelaide was I didn't want to pick grapes for the rest of my life, and I thought, here we go, I could be picking grapes sooner than I
thought. You end up in supermarkets for how many years? 30 years in supermarkets?
34 and a half years I ended up with an IGA down at Hackham.
And made a fortune, we know that. Although some of the pricing down there was a bit steep at times, I thought. And you've got a beautiful family, your lovely wife, Ange, and boys. Tell us about them.
Well, we got 3 boys and a girl, and Shane and Tabe are both in, well, Shane's just turned 40 now, Tabe is 38, and they're both in Perth with 5 grandchildren between them. And Ben's in Sydney, and daughter lives in Adelaide, and she works at the Animal Hospital on Marion Road as a vet nurse. So,
okay. So all the boys have left town, but your daughter stayed here to look after you. Well, really, they're the ones that look after you better in your old age anyway, Voighty. That's how it works.
Hasn't started yet. But no, I think all the girls took my sons away because they didn't want to inherit the supermarket 7 days a week. But they were quite happy to come home and get a year's supply of razor blades and underarm deodorants. You know, that always was a...
There we go. They're going to see this, you know. They're going to see this.
Will they? Oh,
see
well,
this.
No, it's all true. It's all true.
Well, Voighty, you're a star of our club. You're a member of the Hall of Fame, and so you should be. You played 257 great games of footy. I remember as a kid coming down to watch you play and just thought you were fantastic, and we really appreciate you taking your time out today to come on Tiger TV and tell us about your time at Glenelg Footy Club, Voighty.
I'd just like to thank you, Simo, but I'd just like to thank the Glenelg Football Club too, because I guess when you come from a family of 6 in Loxton and we lived in half a housing trust home, when I come to Adelaide, Mum and Dad couldn't afford to, if I buggered up in Adelaide, well, they couldn't, I'd be back home picking grapes. So that was my reason for being successful. And my mum and dad, they were absolutely great Loxton people, and I was so proud of them and being able to play football in Adelaide and Glenelg. I think they've been absolutely magnificent over the journey, and a lot more things that the club has done, but it's the old story. You've got to, all the young guys out there, just what you put into it is what you get out of it. And the other thing is, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You're not going to get admiration by sitting on the lounge watching TV. You've got to get out there and have a go and give it your best shot. If it's B grade, if it's C grade, if it's D grade, doesn't matter. You've given it your best shot, and that's what life's all about, is getting the best out of yourself. And
well done,
the rest
Voighty.
is history.
Matty Locken, there's your next speaker to the players. Rex Voigt, you're a champ. Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Okay, and here we are again for week 2 of At the Desk with Kristen Jeffrey, Commercial Operations Manager, Glenelg Football Club, and yours truly, Tony Symonds. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you, Tony. What a great interview. Rex Voigt, absolute champion. Loved. You're going to see that short, or you would have seen that, but absolutely amazing.
He's
stories.
A star. They don't make him like Voighty anymore, and country boys, you can't beat them.
No, which is a good lead-in because the game.
Bordertown.
Well, no, I'm going to take a step back first. Okay. What a win on Saturday against South.
It was fantastic. I was away, couldn't be here, but I checked in every couple of minutes from the MCG and couldn't believe it. Boys never looked like they were in any danger and kicked well for goal, and obviously South didn't, but really puts us in a fantastic position to be able to play finals footy.
Yep, we did say it was a must-win, and it certainly was. So this week we're away.
It's another must-win.
It is another. I think we've got all must-wins right through
enemy
to the
territory.
end now. Port Adelaide,
at Alberton.
Yep,
Doesn't
2:10.
get any harder. I used to hate going there.
Yeah,
Probably because we used to lose a fair bit, but it was always, actually I used to like going there because if you couldn't get yourself up for a game against Port Adelaide, you couldn't get yourself up for anything, and we had some great battles against them. So
could be another one.
And I reckon the Port blokes will obviously be pretty keen this week because we flogged on the first game here.
Yes.
So the boys are defending their title a little bit, aren't
I think they are. I think they are. Anyway, at Alberton, 2:10, all the support that we can get, so make your way down there.
Then we move on to Bordertown, do we?
Then we go
eventually?
to Bordertown. Yep, straight after, or the week after Bordertown. Mentioned last week about the bus. If you want to go on the bus, we still need 50 people. We need 50 people to go. We're about 20, 25, I think, last count. Please call reception and let them know that you would like to go on the bus. That's very important so that we can get you all down there for the support.
Get down there and support the footy club and support the local area because the southeast is a fantastic breeding ground for Glenelg footballers. So we need people to get down there and support the locals as well.
We do. I just wanted to mention one other event that's coming up. It is the VP Race Day.
Day at the races.
Day at the races. It's on
August the 5th.
August the 5th, Saturday, August the 5th. It's an all-inclusive package and in the chairman's private room.
And I've been in that room a number of times. If you want a nice day out and you want to take your partner out for a really nice day out, the food in there is fantastic, the service is great, and you're mixing with good people, and there's normally a few winners getting around the place.
There is. I remember I did go one year, or the first year I went, and I think it was paid about 19 to 1. Loved the name, liked the colours, picked it, set me up for the day.
That's the way most women do it. I shouldn't say that. Pick a name or pick the colours out. They go home with a pocket full, and I know everything about them and go home broke. That's the way it works.
There it is. So I think that's probably it for today for events coming up, but we'll have a lot more to say next Monday.
There it is, the second edition of At the Desk with Kristen and Simo. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks.